Welcome to the podcast. This is the place where bullshit becomes reality. G'day guys and welcome back to the podcast. I'm sorry that I haven't been doing much this week. I have been trying to update as many little videos like talking about horror and stuff, for the whole October event. But for the most part, since I've had family up, I've just not had time to do any of the playthroughs or anything. I just haven't had time to make any new series come out with like Ryan, Chris, Jesse, or even Macca and I. So, what have I been doing since I spoke to you guys last? Well, I've had relatives up. So, this is one of those times where you usually do all that touristy stuff in your own city that you wouldn't really care for because you live here, but because someone's up, you naturally go and do it. Now, one of the things that we were doing that was outside of my city, I decided to take my younger sister Grace. She's from Tasmania and she's come up from Hobart, yes, and she's brought one of her friends with her. So, both are 14, much younger than I am, and I had no idea what to do, as you heard on the last podcast. So anyway, a week has passed, and one of the things I decided that we could do was go to Dreamworld. Now, I'm not sure how many of you guys live in Australia or are aware of Dreamworld, so I'm just going to explain. It's practically a theme park based on thrill rides, and you know, I've seen the rides. I went on most of the rides while I was there, but yeah, some of the rides are really good, and I can actually say, you know what, if you're in the area or if you're a tourist, check it out. Uh, if I were you, I would probably get a 2 day or 3 day pass if you were there, especially if you have kids, because you're not going to be able to do everything in the one day. Because, I mean, even lining up, there are 45-minute waits for most of the rides. Yeah, I remember we had to wait there for ages and ages, and my younger sister, she was terrified of going on any of these rides, and I'm like, look, you're fucking going on these rides, because we paid like, $90 or something to get in here. So anyway, uh, I paid for my ticket, and I paid for her ticket, and my dad paid for his ticket, and Naomi, who was my sister's friend, paid for hers. So, my dad went because he was driving us, and it's quite a fair while away, so I want you to imagine this poor 60 plus year old man walking around all day saying, I don't want to go on that. And he like just being absolutely mortified and, just at like sort of with me at the whim of these teenage girls as to whatever they wanted to do, we were going to have to fucking do it. So like I had to go on one of these dumb motorcycle ride things. And I was like sitting there and I'm like the only dude that's like above the age of 20, and I'm just sitting there, and all these other kids are hopping on with their parents, and then my sister's like, "Oh, I don't know, I might get scared." I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, could you just like shut up and hop on the ride? But anyway, so we get on the ride, and of course she's an adrenaline junkie. She fucking loves it, and immediately tries to one up herself throughout the day on various degrees of scary rides. But anyway, we were walking around, and one of the things we saw, as soon as you go in, there's this thing called the Giant Drop. Now, I don't exactly have the details of how big it is, but it's this massive fucking slab of metal that just goes up to the sky, and you're looking at it, and you're like, what the fuck is that? Is that like some sort of radio tower or something, or some sort of reception thing? But no, you see this chairlift almost thing that just goes all the way up to the top. And as soon as it gets up to the top, it just sits there. And you see this five, six, or seven people. They're just sitting up on the top, just chilling. Sometimes you hear screams and you're like, what the fuck? And then they drop, like, they just fucking plummet down in like under 5 seconds to the bottom. And this is like a fucking tall thing. Like, so you hear it and, like, you hear the screams, but it's over before, you hear the sound before they make it. Yeah. But and so you get on this ride, and it's like an hour's wait to fucking hop on this thing. And this was one of the last things in the day. And so I'm seeing that, I see the wait, I see the hour wait. I'm like, I'm gonna fucking go on this thing. And Grace, of course, she's like, no, I'm too scared. I'm like, shut the fuck up. You see what a nice brother I am? But anyway, so I'm like, yeah, okay, well, what do you want to go on? So, she was like, let's go on this thing, which is like this fucking pandemonium, which is this Kung Fu Panda cart thing that just spins upside down as well. So that was the next step up from just linear motorcycle race. So she hopped on that night. I was like, fuck that. There's no way I'm hopping on that bullshit thing. And so I sat and was content to watch. Um, then she decided to, after that was done, go on the claw. Now, once again, the claw. Some people say it looks good. I was looking at it and I was like, no, I'm still not going to hop on this because it's like, 40 minutes wait plus, and it just didn't look that appealing to me. I was like, oh, great, so it just swings side to side. What a thrill ride, right? But, so I saw them go on and I just hung out with my dad and we just, talked and I was like, have you ever been to theme parks before? And, him being the very, yeah, I would almost say, typical Aussie male of his time. He's just like, nah, this is the place you'd take your girlfriends or something, and he doesn't really, he never really went on any of the theme park things, and yeah, so we waited for them to get off the claw. They loved it. Then I was like, okay, well, I want to hop on something because you fucking spend $90, you want to get some form of money's worth in this thing, so we see this thing called the Tower of Terror 2. And that's when you hop in this thing, like this little cart, it shoots you backwards at over 100 kilometers an hour. Like, so you go in reverse up the side of that giant drop tower, and then the inertia, after you being shot up the ramp, it stops, and then you just fall back down to, the ramp. And so you go all the way up, and you fall down by gravity. And, that looked like a bit of fun. So I was like, let's go on that thing. Grace was nervous and her friend was nervous. And I'm like, we're fucking going on this thing. And we ended up going on it. Now, I was there and they're like, okay, someone needs to sit in the front. Because, on the ride we were going with, or the group, the people that we were lined up with, none of them wanted to hop in the front because they didn't want to see it. Like they didn't want to have the experience of being thrown up into the air and then just seeing themselves fall. So, you know what, I was like, Dad, you should totally come in the front with me. And so we sat down and this poor guy who didn't want to even be there, he's just sitting there and he's having trouble putting the seatbelt thing on, and I'm just sitting there and I'm like, you having fun, Dad? And he's just like, yeah. So anyway, we get like shot all the way back, and I just like I'm having fun. I can hear nothing but screams, and because of the tunnel that you get shot out of, it just reverberates all around you. It's like constant screaming, and it's almost like the kettle boiling. It just sounds like that because there's nothing but screams and the air's being rushed around you, and then you come out of the tunnel, and you see you're going backwards. And then you sort of feel yourself get held up, and you just see the ramp go vertical, and you're just like, this is gonna feel fun. And for that like split second, when you see the thing slowly come to a stop, your stomach catches back up with you, and you're like, oh, hey stomach, I didn't know you'd be hanging out with my lungs today, and you drop. And that was probably the most fun I had. Like, I mean, I was just going down. I kept my eyes open, and it's one of those things where the air is pushing so much in your eyes that you can barely keep them open. Man, that was a blast. And once again, all the girls were screaming. They had a great time, but that wasn't the end of it. I wanted to make sure that I went on the giant drop, because I know people that were, little bitches and they didn't want to go on it. So, and everyone that came back from Dreamworld, most of the people were like, no, I was too scared. And I'm like, well, okay, little girls. Well, they're actually not the little girls I was talking about, like, with my group, but other people that I'm affectionately referring to as pansies. And anyway, so we get to this giant drop thing. We line up, and Naomi, my sister's friend, doesn't want any part of it. Nope, doesn't want to go on it. Can't stand it. Too scary. The line at this point was, not that big. Like, not a lot of people wanted to go on this thing, so I was like, let's fucking do it. Let's do this thing. And so my dad's just like, okay, I'll wait here with like Naomi. And then, my sister Grace is just like, oh, I'm not sure if I should go, sis. And I'm like, okay, well, here's what's happening. Dad, you have to come here because if you only went on one ride and paid like $90, you'd fucking be ashamed of yourself. You'd be like, what was the point in coming? So I'm like, so you're getting on this thing. And Grace, pretty much you're going to go on this thing because you loved the other ones, you were scared, and you kept saying how much you didn't want to go on them, but you're going to love it. And of course, I was more than happy to let like Naomi stay behind. Not because, I don't like her or anything. It was literally just because she's not my sister. I can't pressure her into anything, and she had a bit of an anxiety sort of thing, so I was like, I didn't want to push that, but nice girl, so I was like, oh, you don't have to come if you don't want to. So anyway, we eventually make it to where up next. My little sister, she is so fucking scared that she is holding my hand tightly. She's like, oh god, I don't want to go, and she's fucking squeezing my hand and everything, and she's like, oh, I'm like, no, we're up next. We've waited like 40 minutes. We're going on this thing. And she's like, no, 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 I don't want to. I'm like, okay, well, I tell you what, I'll talk with the dude, and if you're not comfortable, we're going to, stay on the ground, and I'll let you off, okay? And she's like, okay, okay, okay. And so anyway, we all sit down on the chairlift, so we get buckled into the ride. We're about to go up, and she's just like, oh no, Stuart, I can't do it. I can't do it. You gotta let the dude know. And so I turn to the fucking person who's operating this like ride, and I give him a big fucking thumbs up. And then the person just presses the button to go up. So she's like, what? And we're slowly ascending, and she's like, no, no. So me being the great brother I am, I'm like, oh wow, Grace, look how fucking high up in the air we are. It's so fucking tall. Man, can you imagine? Like, we would totally just fucking die if we fell from here. And she was like, oh God, no. And my dad's just sitting there and he's just like, oh wow, this is a wonderful view. I really like this up here. Oh look, you can see the river. And he's like doing this like weird scenic thing. He's just like casually chilling there and he's just like looking out and he's like, this is beautiful. I'm glad I did this. And so, anyway, we finally get to the top, and you can't see, because of how you're sitting, you can't see how far off the ground you are directly, but you can just see all the landscape in front of you, and you can feel the wind just, around you from how high up you are. So my little sister closes her eyes and she's like, oh God, I can't deal with it. I don't want to go. No. And so I'm sitting there and I'm just like, wow, I can see my house from here. And she's like, no, you can't. You're lying. I'm like, just open up your eyes and you can see it. And so she opens her eyes and she's immediately scared because she realizes how high she is up there. And she's like, no, why would you fucking do that? And anyway, so I'm just sitting there and I'm like, any moment, Grace. Any moment we're just gonna drop. Any second. You don't know when it's coming. And like the giant drop, in order to save time, on the two different sides of this tower, there is two different rides on each side. So sorry, two different rides, one on each side. So the people behind that were on the ride that had gone up the thing before us, they were right behind us. And you could hear them drop because you just heard clunk, and then screaming. Absolute screaming. And so this obviously made me just smile because I turned over to Grace and she was like, what was that? I'm like, oh, that's them. The other people are going, it's any second now when we're going to drop. And pretty much as if on cue, as soon as I said that, she was like, oh, please no. And then I can't even describe it. It's like you don't even hear the clunk. It's just all of a sudden, you feel like your entire body is weightless, and that would probably be from the drop, because it's literally just a drop straight down. There's no other gimmick to the ride. The giant drop is appropriately named, and your legs, they just sort of become weightless and fly up a bit. And it's literally like those cartoons where you see like Wile E. Coyote and he'll fall off a cliff and he'll stay there for a while and he'll fall down, but his eyes will stay like up the top, like his body will fall his eyes will stay there before quickly rejoining the two in a snap. Now, this was amazing. I was like, you couldn't feel your stomach. You didn't even know where it was. And maybe because of how I was sitting, I could fucking feel my balls get shot up into my throat. So that was fucking painful. But, well, not painful. It was just like, ow. Because, everything's flying up against gravity. And I was like, oh, Jesus. But, yeah. So, apparently my sister was screaming the whole way down, but because of how fast everything was rushing past me, I didn't notice it or I couldn't hear it. So, it's over in once again like 5 seconds. Was amazing. I would love to do that again. I wish that they still had the picture function from when you were going down, but they didn't. And my dad gets off the ride and is like, well, that was pretty enjoyable. And he's just casually walking away, and my sister's just like, I'm like, you alright? And she's like, you're so mean! But, and I am, and I'm admitting that, so whatever. That's what older brothers do. So that was Dreamworld. We had a lot of fun there. I got the t-shirt that says I survived the giant drop because I love getting, dumb novelty t-shirts whenever I go on a little bit of a holiday or go somewhere that I haven't been before. And the reason I'm able to film this podcast right now is because my dad, Naomi, and Grace are off to White Water World. Now, it cost something like $50 to get in, and I was like, oh, I don't really want to spend another $50. I'm a bit broke at the moment. But mainly because I'm not sure if this has happened to you guys. So, I'm in my 20s, and it's a teenage theme park, I guess. It's like, a big swimming pool with like water rides, and it's for kids, yeah? Now, I would be standing there because you'd have to look after him, and my dad, he's not going to be in the park. He's going to be like driving around and, just, they're going to call him when they want to be picked up. And my dad said if I went down, I would have to go in there because he doesn't have any money to pay for himself to get in. And he's like, you're going to have to go in there and look after them, blah, blah, blah. So I was thinking, I want you to picture this in your head, guys. I want you to picture this 20-something-year-old dude in this theme park filled with teenage children and younger. I would be there in my swimsuit trunks. Other kids would just be in their swimsuits. But I would be in my 20s with long hair and, grotty facial hair because I haven't had time to, take care of it this week with everyone being up. And I'll just be standing there in this line. Now, if you guys are getting the same picture that I am, that's not something that you want to do all day. Like, I don't want to embarrass my sister and her friend, but two, I don't want to make other parents that would be, sitting. I didn't want to make them embarrassed by being, or worried that there's this 20-something-year-old guy that's going on all these kiddie rides. That would be, oh, great, all these alerts are going off, like red flags coming up, guys. So I didn't want to experience that, so I was like, you know what, you guys have fun, I'll stay at home, and that's why I'm here doing the podcast. So I hope you guys have had awesome weeks. And I hope things are going really well. For me, that was everything I did of note. Apart from that, just regular touristy stuff. And in terms of video games and what I've been doing apart from that, I just haven't had time to play anything. Like, we'll go out and we'll get food, and we will just, take them to various different restaurants that they haven't been over here. And there's just no downtime. So one of the only things that I can think we have been doing is watching anime and stuff. So that's why I greeted you all with the Persona intro, because my younger sister and her friend have not played Persona. And so Persona is one of my favorite video game franchises of all time, and Persona 4 is my favorite Persona. Persona 3 is pretty close. And when it comes to Persona 1 and 2, I know that 2 is 2 games, but I'm going to have to say that I like Persona Eternal Punishment, yeah, it would be the next one. And then the other games are just, so equal to me that I can't really place one above the other. But yeah, so Persona 4 is my favorite, and I was like, I'm going to introduce this to you guys because everyone else in my group loves Persona. So we're going to, see if they like it. And so we watched a few episodes, and for the most part, they did like it. And I was like trying to explain to them what personas were, and I came across the thing where I was like, they're sort of like stands. And they're like, what is a stand? So I was saying to them, a stand is from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Do you guys watch that? And they said no, but it sounded funny. So I was like, would you like to watch it? And they said no, it sounds funny. So we didn't end up watching JoJo's, and I'll try and get them to watch something like that. But here's another thing where the age gap sort of really shows. They love Naruto. Like, they really love Naruto. Now, hang on, I'm going to just take a drink before I get on this, because this might turn into a rant accidentally, and I'm sorry if it does. I love that iced coffee. So, when I was younger, I watched Naruto. I saw all of the original Naruto, and that includes, like, 100-something episodes of filler. So when you say, what are your fond memories of Naruto? And I say, oh, remember all this filler? And I couldn't tell you anything about them except one has an architect, like, he's like the big bad at the end. And apart from that, all this filler is just fucking blurred in my mind because I cared about it that little. Now, I want you to imagine myself and my younger brother, because we were watching anime at the time and we're getting into, that's like, I think most people, when you get late in primary school, that's when you really start getting into anime these days. So we were into Naruto and we were fucking just watching nothing but filler. And that's fucking horrible. Like, it was the point where I was like, oh, look, it's, another 6 episodes of fucking nothing. And, oh, look, it's these characters. I don't know whose fucking idea in Japan it was to go, well, you know what? Let's just pad this out with nothing for 100 episodes. And it's like, you watch this shit and there's no... It's not even fun. It's the same fucking formula every week. Let's go on mission to place. What are we doing at place? We need different squad members. So why don't you bring in this irrelevant fuck, that irrelevant fuck, and maybe another irrelevant fuck, and we're going to fight a team of 4 or 3 irrelevant fucks. So what's going to happen at the end of the day? One person's going to fight one person, the other person's going to fight the other person, one person's going to fight the other person if that's, so things. If it's a squad of 3, then, we're just going to fight off against the big bad together maybe. Or Naruto's just going to go up against the end person and, shadow clone spam into Rasengan, and that's every fucking fight that ever happened in Naruto. Oh, I'm sorry. And people would be like, oh, but Stuart, what about, the Kamehameha wave? Goku does that a lot. I'm like, yeah, but here's the thing. With Goku, he's a martial artist. So you're going to get in between the Kamehameha waves, you're going to get a shit ton of those sequences where you see them punching a lot, or that one's karate chopping and they're teleporting behind each other, or there's going to be exposition, or they're going to be charging up the attack. Now, I'm not usually one for charging up the attack, but here's literally every Naruto fight. You can't defeat me, Naruto. Yes, I can. Oh, Naruto, he's running in. What bravery. He must be believing in himself to the maximum. And he'll be like, believe it. And then he'll be like, shadow clone. And he'll be like, the enemy will be like, what, a shadow clone? And then, the shadow clone will be like, Rasengan, hit him in the back or hit him in the front. You just flip a coin and that's how you decide. And that's every fight. And they're just like, but what about the time that he did this? Like, I stopped fucking watching Naruto at the end of the Immortal Duo arc, like Hidan and Kakazu. And if I was to tell you that the fucking same thing plays out with that arc as well. Like, Kakuzu's there and he's just like, "You foolish ninja. I will be sure to keep an eye out for your shadow clone technique." And then what the fuck happens? What the fuck happens? Naruto fans, you will know, and people that, have a semblance of an idea of where this rant is going, you guys have guessed already. But what happens? Naruto uses a shadow clone, uses a wind Rasengan, and then shows up, like, really close to Kakuzu, and Kakuzu goes, "A shadow clone?" And I'm like, "What? But you said but you said earlier, but the shadow clone, and that was pretty much, I was like, cool. Well, the only things that I liked about Naruto, which was the Akatsuki, legitimately, I would have stopped watching Naruto if it wasn't for the Akatsuki. And I was like, this is a really cool villain group. I fucking love villain groups in animes, especially. Literally, if there's a good villain group that can make me continue watching an anime. And Matt and I constantly have debates, but I also love fucking tournament sagas. Why? Because I love fighting games, and a tournament saga is like, let's have a fighting game competition. But anyway, so when, Hidan and Kakuzu, who are arguably, my favorite, well, they are my favorite Akatsuki pair, when they die, and in such bullshit manners, like, you'd almost imagine, like, Kishimoto, the writer of the manga, he was just like, oh, what should I've fucking run out of ideas, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make Kakuzu, even though he's mentioned to be careful of the shadow clones, I'm going to get him, what would he fall for? He would probably fall for a shadow clone. And as for Hidan, I'm going to make him run into the forest, and I'm going to make him fall into a hole. Now, you guys might think I'm lying, but that's literally what happens. He runs into a forest, and he gets tricked by Shikamaru, and he gets left in a hole. Now, ultimately, one could almost argue that Hidan has the better ending for the two, because you could almost think in your mind, despite how fucking much that one thing and how they do it makes me hate Shikamaru, and I used to like him, but that, that moment made me go, I fucking hate you. Just how the whole thing was written. It's not that I had a particular love for Hidan or anything. It's just how the whole thing played out, and you see because I watched it in Japanese, and I see how everything was written. I was just like, this is some of the worst dialogue I've ever seen, and it's so corny and so bad. And I was just like, I hate this. And that was my ending experience with Naruto. These girls, however, my sister and her friend, they're watching the filler arc of Naruto, and they're having fun. I don't know what to fucking think about that. A part of me, the cynical douchebag part of me, which encompasses about 89% of my being, I don't know why such an odd number, but 89% of my being, it's canon now, I would sort of be like, they're just fucking idiots. And I would just, think that. But no, because there's, like 11% of me that is, I can't even say good really, but we'll just go with that. So this 11% of me is just like, no, they're allowed to like what they like, that's them, that's fine, I shouldn't dictate what they enjoy. So anyway, they're having fun through that, and my little sister, because she hasn't seen me in three and a half or so years, so she wants me to always, chill in the same room, and just so she can just have fun and say that she spent time with me while she was up here. So she wants me to sit down and watch all this stuff, and I'm sitting there, and it's difficult to contain my rage or just contain how much I dislike this show, and I don't want to ruin it for them, so I just have to sit there and be quiet. But every now and again I'll just be like I'll let out that sigh, just like, oh fuck, whenever they do something, or Naruto does another stupid thing, which is a lot, by the way. But I'm trying to make sure that they have fun, but I'm introducing them to other stuff. And one of the things that I'm trying to get them into is One Piece, because she watched the 4 Kids dub. Now, don't don't get angry, but that was her gateway into One Piece. And so I gave her a whole bunch of One Piece DVDs and stuff to watch, and she's been watching those, like at night and whatnot. And so far, she's really liking them, and I'm gonna give her a whole bunch more to take down with her, and we'll see if she likes that, because I like One Piece, because I feel that even though it can be aimed for a younger audience, at the same time, it's got enough fun that older people like myself can join in and watch it. But anyway, speaking about my sister, she actually knew that I had a YouTube channel. Now, despite the fact that no one on the planet Earth, except for like my 56 amazing subscribers, know who the hell I am, that was really weird. And she found out because she was looking at comic books and stuff. And one of the comic books she just happened to want to know about was the Legion of Superheroes. And so she looks up Legion of Superheroes review and just like trying to talk about it. And she said that she saw me and she just had to click on it. And she has since seen a lot of my YouTube videos, and that's really, I don't know, I would almost say humbling or embarrassing, or I don't know what you'd say. But so when she quotes some of the things that I say, and it's weird in the fact that I have lost arguments, like play arguments that we've had, because she's quoted something that I have said, and I was like, oh well, fuck. But anyway, she and I are usually like polar opposites. So, with her, she loves the Marvel films. She loves Marvel so much, and she tried to get into DC, and that's why she was looking up that stuff. And she was trying, but, she just doesn't like it. Her favorite character is Thor, and I think it's because of the actor, just because, she does stop and look at posters, and she's just like, well, oh wow, I just like Chris Hem. I mean, I like Thor, and I'm like, yeah, you're so good at hiding this. But whatever. As long as she has fun when she goes to the movies, who am I to judge? And you see, there's the 11%, guys. It's good. And we went into the city, and I was like, you know what? Surprise me, buy me. I'm gonna give you some money. And I'd normally spend this on the, bargain bin at the local shop. So whether that's a video game establishment that's a massive chain, or just a local ma and pa store from where we were at. But it was just like, here, take this money, and I want you to buy me a game based on what you think I will like. Now, I'm going to tell you what the choices came down to. She said, because like I was in the store and I was waiting outside, because every time she got one, she would come over to me and she would be like, she would just casually ask in her attempting to be secretive voice, oh, like, do you like, say there's a war in modern times, would you like that? And I was just like, so stealthy. But so anyway, the games that she brought over, and the one that she ended up buying. So she brought over one game, and I was like, this is a good choice, but I already have it. And she picked Ultra Street Fighter 4, because she's like, I remember you playing Street Fighter back in the day, and this looks like the new one. I was like, I already have this one, and that's a great choice. I love that game. She's like, okay. So anyway, she goes back to the wall, and she brings back one, and she's hiding it behind her back. And I'm like, have you decided? She's like, yep. Do you have this one? And she showed me what it was, and I'm like, no, I don't. And so we proceeded to go up to the counter, and that's how I have Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, because she remembers seeing the game on 64. Now, she didn't know what a Nintendo 64 was last week, but I pulled out all these games and was like, here, you should play some. And I was telling her about them, and she remembered me saying that I liked Banjo-Kazooie. And so I didn't have the heart to tell her that this is apparently one of the worst games for the Xbox 360, or so I've read. But that's what I got. And when I went home and I started playing it, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I only played for like 30 minutes because they wanted to see if I liked it. But for the first like opening 30 minutes, I didn't think it was that bad. Like the Spiral Mountain is recreated really nice, or recreated. I should probably say get my English a bit better. Nice. But I don't know. It seems very fun, and the fact that it takes the piss out of itself, I find that to be charming. So I haven't actually done any of the game yet, so I haven't built cars or anything, and that's apparently where the game goes to shit. But so far I actually liked it. So I'm not sure if I'll have time to play it anytime soon, but if I do get back to it, I'll let you guys know. I'm actually interested in it. Another thing that we ended up going out and getting was we're just going to a DVD place, and I was just like, you know what? Point out what you like watching. And apart from all this teen drama bullshit, she actually came to what is it? The anime section, and she pointed out the big three still going strong: One Piece, Naruto, Bleach. And I was like, why are these ones your favorite? And she said, because they're the most popular, therefore they're the best. Now, I know that arguably Naruto and Bleach have fallen out of popularity, not just with me, but with the mainstream. But I'm pretty sure Bleach is not in the top three sales anymore. But I remember for a long time they were known as the big three. So that leads to my next point. Does something being popular automatically make it good in, the newer generation's eyes? It seems so, because her and Naomi were, not even looking at stuff like. I was almost surprised because they completely brisked past things like Cowboy Bebop and Akira and Ghost in the Shell, and they're just not even. Although I don't think it would appeal to them, maybe that's why it was. But there's a whole section, and whether it was only through stuff they knew, but they would only check it out. So I held up this thing and I was like, well, would you like to give this a go? And it was Dragon Ball Z. And I was like, do you guys know what this is? And they said yes. And I was like, okay, what is it? And they said, that's the one with Goku in it. I'm like, have you guys seen it? And they said no. Now, that made me feel old. Because back in my day, everyone. Fuck. I just said back in my day. And I probably do that a lot. Now, and I'm pretty sure I had a bit of an old twang to it at the end. So, oh man, that's even worse. But here we go. When I was in my youth, which wasn't too long ago, there we go, that makes me feel better. Dragon Ball Z was the shit. Everyone was talking about it. Not just Dragon Ball Z, but Dragon Ball and even GT. That was fucking on everybody's lips. Everyone was like, oh, have you seen this? And it was fucking, we had this thing called Cheese TV, and that was on every morning. And fucking, you couldn't even start a discussion about what was cool without including Goku and Vegeta in it. And like, yeah, you'd get the kid at school that said Krillin was cool and you'd all beat the shit out of him, but you respected him for watching Dragon Ball Z. And there's some people out there that are stubborn in their ways, and they say that the Dragon Ball Z anime is complete shit after the Cell Games arc. And to those people who know exactly who they are, and most likely have Hulk Hogan bandanas, I say to you, the third season is actually really good for character development. I'm one of the few people that doesn't mind Gohan when he's like an adult. I think he's more of a bitch when he's the teen, when he's constantly, screaming and he's having constant doubts about himself, and he's like, I don't want to kill Cell, even though I've got the power to kill Cell. And because of that, people die. Now, I'm not going to say you're wrong for saying that. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and the great thing about entertainment is that it's subjective, so there is no right or wrong opinion. But for people dismissing it, like the entire show, just because Gohan got older, come on, guys, give it another chance. For people dismissing the show because the villain is pink, I suggest you give the show another go. I think that Super Boo is probably one of my favorite of the Dragon Ball Z villains. That's including the movie ones. And I think that well, you know, Maka on the channel, his favorite villain is the Margin Boo, like the Fat Boo. He likes it because, you know, you've got the dark evil part of him, but you've got the childlike, you know, offset that makes the evil really show because it's, you know, such a big contrast. And it's the innocence that, you know, he also likes, and just, you know, the general funniness. But you get Vegito in that arc, and that's like, you know, one of the coolest fights. And you get the best spirit bomb in history against Kid Buu. So I don't know what you guys are talking about. I really liked that. And they did their bit to try and keep Piccolo relevant in the fact that he was there with Goten and Trunks. And, you know, he was training them and he was still being relevant. Like, for a guy that was the big bad villain of Dragon Ball, and slowly got worse and worse as the time progressed in terms of like keeping up with everyone. I like the fact that he was in a lot of episodes. Now, when it comes to the Cell saga, that's a great saga. Don't get me wrong. I like Cell. I think Cell is cool. I think when he's in perfect Cell, that's my favorite. Because, you know, he's a fucking 7 foot tall, or like 7 to 8 foot tall bug. That's creepy as shit. And he comes and like sucks out all your insides. And then he just leaves nothing but the clothes behind. And I'm like, motherfucker, if I walked into a town and I saw nothing but clothes on the ground, my first thought wouldn't be everyone's running around naked having an orgy. It'd be, holy shit, run away, imperfect Cell is here. So, you know, that's just how I would be. But at the end of the day, if you really think about it, Cell only becomes like a threat because of the like inept nature of everyone in the cast. Like, everyone fucks up and that's why he becomes a threat. It's like, oh guys, the oven is sparking, and they're like, okay, cool, well, we're not going to do anything. Oh guys, the oven is on fire. Oh, okay, well, we're not going to do anything. Guys, the fucking oven is now bursting with flames. There is no way to stop it, and the flames are now going through the house. Maybe I should store my gasoline inside the house. No, you should. Oh, I'm gonna do that anyway. Oh, guys, the fucking house blew up, and we've got no house anymore. Well, shit! How did this happen? Fuck! Damn it! I swear, those oven sparks must be the devil! No, guys, you fucking let this happen. If you think about it, Imperfect Cell, he only gets Android 17 because everyone else is like, okay, well, we're going to isolate 17 to one area where we're going to fight him so he can't focus on Cell. And we're going to make it so that he doesn't know that we're going to broadcast the location with our power levels so that Cell gets interested. We're going to bring him like a fucking hot wire to where we're supposed to be hiding these androids. So all of a sudden, you know, Cell hides in this little ditch like the bitch he is. And I mean that affectionately. Come on, guys. I told you that I liked Cell. But anyway, so 17 is there. And of course, they're just like Piccolo's just like, 17, behind you! And, you know, 17's like, I'm not falling for that one. And, of course, he gets absorbed. And he becomes near-perfect or semi-perfect Cell. Yeah, I've heard people say either and or. So, you know, there's fuck-up number one. Broadcast your location of where you are and the android that you're trying to hide from Cell is. And then also, you know, not try and stop Cell, but just let him fucking... And that's the thing, everyone's watching him absorb, and I get that this is an anime thing, but they're watching him absorbing it, and it's got the, you know, the music, how it's all tense, like... And they're like, oh god, Cell's absorbing the androids! And, you know, you're just like, dude, fucking punch him or something. Do something. But then it comes to semi-perfect Cell. And, you know, he's just like... getting the shit kicked out of him, and then he's just like, oh, Vegeta, this wouldn't happen if I was perfect, Cell. And then, if I was in my perfect form, you couldn't beat me, Vegeta. And Vegeta's just like, go on. And, so Vegeta completely just lets fucking. He literally is like, well, go do it. Go fucking absorb your android. Go fucking do it. And so, if I was like fucking semi-perfect Cell, I'd be like, are you kidding? Like, I can just fucking go over there and become the main threat and just fucking kick the shit out of everyone? Yes, yes, go do it now. And I would just fucking. I'd do exactly what he did and be like, you're alright. And immediately, biggest fucking mistake, after absorbing again with, little help from everyone just watching it happen. Oh god, he's absorbing the androids again! But, God, Christopher Zabat, I don't know how you do that. Like, Piccolo and Vegeta and half the fucking cast, I don't know how you do that, because my throat is fucking dying from just doing that few lines. So I'm going to take a drink and get back to Cell only not achieving anything by himself, but due to the stupidity of others. And then, the Cell games show up, and Cell gets the shit. Goku's like, I don't think I could beat him. I'm not willing to try my hardest, though. I'm just going to say, nah, I can't beat him. Sort of like, people in our group have just accepted, like, they don't really try to beat Matt anymore. They're just like, nah, he's just better than I am. Fuck it. I'm not even, nah. But Cell eventually gets put in the ring with Gohan. Gohan, lets poor Goku take this exploding Cell to another planet, who is only exploding once again due to Teen Gohan's stupidity and being like, I'm gonna play around with you, I'm not even gonna fucking beat you, I'm just gonna, be a sadistic piece of shit. And, because that's such a great idea when you're doing it with this massive villain that has shown twice before that he will use any bit of your own stupidity to become better. And then he comes back even stronger than before, and it's all everyone else's fault. The Cell saga is literally like how to fuck yourself into a corner. That's the entire saga. And it's like, how we get saved? If you fuck yourself into a corner, you go back in time just before you fuck yourself into that corner, and you go, Self, you are going to get heart disease. I'm sorry. But Future Trunks coming back. Oh, jeez. And then there's that timeline which the actual Cell comes from, where Trunks just gets killed by him. And there's all this time travel shenanigans. Like, I love that arc, but Jesus, if anyone says that, Cell's the OG, you're wrong. And that's just the end of the story. You can say he's cool, that's your opinion. But you can't say that he's a self-made man. Like, you can't say he was made by Dr. Gero. So he got all his powers from being, created, and not through training, but then he got better through the mistakes of others. So, that's the whole thing with Cell. And I think I've been going on about that for a while, so I'm gonna, calm it down for a bit. But yeah, so my sister actually made me happy when she said that she knew what Fist of the North Star was. And I was like, how do you know that? And she's like, because you used to watch it when you lived together, and it's fucking stupid and I hate it. And, so even though she hates it, I was like, you know what it is, and that makes you semi-cool in my eyes, I guess. Not really. But, it's like Sir George Reed, our 4th Prime Minister of Australia, said, no time to waste, but make your pace. It's okay to remove, copy and paste. Now, those are his words verbatim. And that's probably why we're going to be continuing to watch and talk about anime. Anyway, guys, apart from all this anime stuff I've been watching, is there any anime that you guys have enjoyed watching recently? And the reason I say this is because there's such a big, flux of animation coming out. But most of it is just, the standard stuff. And I had this debate with Matt the other day. I told him that, especially with my eyesight, I prefer watching anime. And it might be heresy, but for the most part, I actually watch things that are dubbed. I just sit down and watch it because I have to put my glasses on and I have to sit and squint to read the subtitles. That's just how my eyes are. Can't complain. That's just how I am. But I will read stuff with subtitles if I'm going to get into something like hardcore and there is no dub of it, or in the case of some things, the dub is so egregiously bad that you just have to go elsewhere. But like you guys know that I don't like Attack on Titan, and I'm not sure if I'll ever release that video explaining why, because I think it was more rage induced than actual talking. But if you guys want to see a video of me being a douchebag, then check out my channel. I've got like over 100 of those videos. But if you guys want to check out a video of me being a douchebag involving Attack on Titan, then let me know, and I might release that out as just an unreleased footage, sort of nice work, mix mashed together, and I hope you guys will enjoy that. But apart from that, I don't think I've really been doing that much because there's not that much to talk about. I know that up on the channel we've got Wrestle Rocktober coming up, and I've been doing a lot of horror stuff for the whole Halloween aspect. Now, Wrestle Rocktober, I'm going to give you guys a bit of a sneak peek. Usually in October, there's a whole bunch of wrestling events, and my mates and I, we usually sit down and watch them. And not just from, the WWE promotion, but others. And so we're going to be sitting down watching a whole bunch of those, and I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to proceed, and whether or not it will be a reaction video while we watch it, and you guys will have to find, a legal copy of it to watch, or whether or not it would just be a round table of us talking about the event afterwards. But either way, you're going to see some wrestling stuff, like professional wrestling stuff, show up on the channel later on. I hope you guys enjoy that. I know that for the most part, we're pretty tired when it comes to WWE. I don't get the WWE network, and I don't want to sign up to them. I don't want to give them money. And the only time that we, give them money is because we get the main events, and we all come together and put money together to get the main event. But we only do that if there is 3 or more matches on the card that show promise to us. If there's not, then we just don't care. How weird is it, by the way, that we are so used to the main event being absolute shit because the last 10 years John Cena's been in it pretty much, that we don't even watch shit for the main event anymore. Like, if you was, nice work, Stuart, if you were to tell me back in the day that the main event of a pay-per-view wasn't the reason you'd be buying it, I would be like, what the fuck? That's weird. And because, think about it. If you were to tell someone, well, why are you really looking forward to WrestleMania 3? And you'd obviously get Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant. Now, the smart people would be like, there's some promise for that Randy Savage match, but Ricky the Dragon Steamboat's pretty good worker, guys. But, for the most part, everyone would be like, and even those people would be like, but I'm still excited to see Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant. And if you went into WrestleMania 6 and you weren't, looking forward to Hulk Hogan versus the Ultimate Warrior, then you're a liar. You're a fucking liar. That's all I have to say to you. And if you weren't, why were you watching that pay-per-view? And of course, I'm going to get, thousands, well, that's a bit generous of myself, but I'm going to get heaps of people that are like, oh, the undercard matches were so good in comparison. I'm so glad that they were there, blah, blah, blah. Look, once again, guys, you're entitled to your opinion, but I honestly think that is the reason the WrestleMania is memorable. Anyway, guys, I'm looking at the clock, and I need to go and pick up food for later, because I promised my dad that since I wasn't going to Whitewater World, that I would go do the shopping and get us some food for later on and tomorrow. So I'm going to go do that. Thank you guys for watching. I'm promised to get this out. So, if you're in Queensland or if you're in Australia, and you're not doing anything tomorrow or today. So it will be the Sunday closest to when this comes out. And I don't exactly know the date, but I think it's either the 4th or the 5th. Let me just... It's the 5th. So if you are in the Queensland area, or if you're from Vegas itself, then please come on down to the Brisbane Zombie Walk, because it's all going towards a good cause. It's the Brain Foundation, which is if you can donate a gold coin or donate as much as you feel comfortable with, and it will go towards raising awareness and helping find a cure for various brain disorders. So brains, zombies, kind of a match. You can dress up as a zombie or a survivor or even some undead themed creatures, and you can shamble along with the rest of us. I am usually there, but I'm not sure if I can make it this year. However, if you go down there, you will probably be able to see Mr. Ryan, Mr. Macca, and Mr. Jesse, as they will be participating this year. And be sure to say hi if you do see them. You'll give them all such big heads that they will never let me live it down for the next 6 years that they were recognized. So go ahead, go down there, do it for a great cause, and that will be all from me for this week. And until next week, guys, I'll catch you later.